Hello, and welcome to the Oregon Business Matters podcast, brought to you by Oregon Business and Industry, your statewide Chamber of Commerce. At Oregon Business Matters, we focus on insights, issues, and initiatives that impact Oregonians' shared prosperity and the state's economic health. I'm Angela Wilhelms, President and CEO at OBI, and your host here at Oregon Business Matters. Today, I'm in White City with Brian Hall, CEO of rapidly growing NIC Industries. NIC manufactures powder coatings and liquid ceramic coatings and sells those around the world. NIC employs hundreds of Oregonians in the Southern Oregon community and has become an industry leader thanks to its innovation and quality. NIC is also a 2025 recipient of OBI's highest honor, the Oregon Visionary Award, which recognizes people, companies, and organizations that strengthen Oregon's economy and contribute significantly to shared prosperity. NIC certainly embodies this. So with that, Brian, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Angela. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
So this is kind of where we always start when we have a business leader with us, but just to make sure our listeners are familiar, tell us a little bit about the company's origin and how you got to where you are today. And we'll dive into more of the specifics as we go.
Right. Yep. So we've been around for just over 20 years in our current form. At our heart, we are a coatings manufacturer. So we produce liquid ceramic coatings and also a line of powder coatings under the brand Prismatic Powders. Our liquid ceramics are known under the brand of Cerakote. And so Southern Oregon based in White City and very, very proudly growing here with about 240 to 250 employees right now.
Which is a lot of employees in White City. That's terrific.
It is, yes. For small White City, we love White City. It's a great place for us to be. And we are a significant employer in this part of the state.
Okay, so I'm going to plead ignorance, but you talked about Prismatic Powders, your powder coating, and Cerakote, your liquid ceramic coating. Can you describe what those are a little more for our listeners?
Right.
For me.
Good question.
And I'll blame it on the listeners.
On the powder coating side, this is more of a B2B business. So if you're buying something, it might be powder coated. Powder coating's a dry powder paint that's sprayed on and then cured in an oven, essentially melted and cured to the metal. There is some business to consumer aspects of it, but mostly you would be buying something that's powder coated or having something powder coated. And we service a lot of industries from architecture to automotive. It really runs the gamut. That is about a third of our business. Another third of our business is our industrial Cerakote products. That is where a lot of our intellectual property is. We run the gamut from aerospace coatings to defense coatings to medical device. Quite a large offering of products there, and that is almost exclusively B2B. And then we have our newest division of our company, which is also a Cerakote division, but it's Cerakote Ceramics. And that is a liquid consumer auto care line, and that is paint sealants, paint coatings, headlight restoration products, trim restoration. So if you're in the auto care space, you would most likely be very familiar with our brand in that space, and that is the newest consumer element of our company.
Okay, great. So you've talked about a few of the products, which naturally leads me to a question about NIC's evolution. So how did you get started in this? And, how do you think about product development and how do you see a product's potential and think about how to grow and diversify those offerings?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a big question, so I'll try to breeze through some of the past. I'm a native Oregonian, grew up in Southern Oregon, and went to Oregon State, and always had a passion for manufacturing. I left the state for just a couple years and quickly realized that I wanted to be back in the state. And so my wife and I at the time moved back to Southern Oregon. NIC existed at the time. It was a very small coatings application shop and a handful of employees, and trying to make a conversion into manufacturing of products. And really, for sake of time, I can tell you that we really came up with a philosophy that is still with us today, and that is what we call spend, save, and share. I'll quickly run through that. The spend portion of that is 100% reinvestment of our profits back into the company. And still to this day, 20 years later, we're still staying true to that. And that is just a really intense effort to focus on research and development. And that is how we transitioned from being a coatings application shop into actually, making a very difficult, I would say, something that's very rarely done, into being a supplier in that industry. The save portion is just some personal beliefs of mine. I'm a little adverse to debt, and it's a little tricky to convert from an applicator to a manufacturer and not like debt. So we've not always been debt free, but that is a goal of ours. And then the last element of that is the share aspect, and that's really, I would say, the biggest asset of our company is the culture and the people. And the share aspect is a performance incentive program where we share a portion of our profits with our staff. We've been doing it for nearly the entire 20 years. It's a big part of our culture that if you work here and we do well, we all do well.
Yeah, and I've got to say I've been here to your facility a few times now, and it's palpable, the culture that you've built here. It's clear that people take enormous pride in what they do and how they do it, and so congratulations. Yeah. and kudos to you for recognizing that holistic view about the.
Yeah, and I appreciate you noticing that. It's and there are a lot of complex parts of business, but there are also some very simple parts of business. And I think if someone's in leadership and they've learned things the hard way, like I have, if you start with world-class people and a world-class culture, nearly everything else works itself out. That's how you get world-class products, world-class service. And I know there are some businesses that say one thing. I believe that we're not perfect, but I believe that we truly live that out in saying our largest asset is our people and our culture. And if you have those two things, you can do a lot. And I think we're proof of that, starting from literally dust and turning into one of the largest paint manufacturers in the country right now.
Yeah, and you talked about being world class, and you can't grow the way you're growing and have the reputation you do, not just nationally but globally, without truly being world class. So I think that's a testament to the quality of what you're doing, and again, that philosophy that you've infused into the company seems to be working.
It's a very simple philosophy, and I don't want to oversimplify other aspects of
Sure.
the business, but that philosophy is simple. There's no need to overcomplicate how we do things. It's a lot of our values are centered around investing in people and investing in the culture. And when you do that, it's amazing how everything else generally works out because of the people and how you problem solve, how you communicate, how you overcome adversity. That you're completely relying on your people to do that.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about how you have a product that people might buy at the retail store and use at home themselves, and then you have more of the B2B products. And again, I'm going to make a leap here because I am not well versed in the details of this, but I've got to think that the product, when you're talking about the B2B and industrial solutions, the product is one thing. The application is equally, or if not more important, making sure that the folks who are using your product are using it right and applying it well. So you have a certified applicator process, and And can you just talk a little bit about how you think about quality control, not just in the development of the product itself, but in how it's actually applied and used? Because that ties back to your reputation as well.
Right. Some of the customers that we're most proud of are unfortunately some of the customers that we can't talk about because of confidentiality
Intriguing.
agreements. But a lot of our business is in aerospace, things that your listeners are going to be very familiar with. There's a very good chance that a lot of your listeners also interact with our coatings probably on a daily basis. But in some applications, the brand name of that finish is not known. In fact, I won't say the name of it, but even the microphones we're talking on today is a customer of ours. But unfortunately, we can't share that. So with those applications, we are more in a functional space where the coating is providing a function. And with that, the application is very important. So when you go back in time, and I'll get a little fuzzy on the dates because of my memory, but 15, 16, 17 years ago, really in the genesis of the company, one of the big crazy ideas we had is, we need a certified applicator network. And at the time, you think about, well, we're a completely unknown brand, and how are we going to convince companies that apply coatings to fly all the way to White City, which, no offense, but not a lot of customers have heard of White City, Oregon before.
Fair.
How are we going to convince them to fly out here and do that? And there was a process that we went through to make that happen. But once we had our first OEM account, and that was being coated by a certified applicator, and let me just back up for a second. To become a certified applicator, we are more interested in the coating application company than anything else. We're looking for quality, consistency. It's a real partnership. So this is it's not a franchise. There's really no fees. Really, we're looking for the best applicators in the world. They travel out to White City, go through a pretty intensive hands-on course. And then we do the rest from there. We do all the marketing, just a lot of the heavy lifting. Their job is to provide excellent service in their community, wherever that is. Fast forward to today, White City being somewhat isolated, you can now get the same exact certification course in Michigan, in North Carolina. We have training facilities in England, Ireland, France, Germany, Australia, and then there's a couple countries that we're working on right now.
That is fascinating. Again, it's one of those things, like you said, it's in front of us every day. We probably touch it every day.
Right.
We have no concept really what goes into that.
And early on, we decided we need to make the finish an issue. And whether that's our product, and I should back up again and say, with ceramic finishes, these are very thin coatings. They are typically going on things that have threads and seals. So we're generally coating parts that are smaller. So in Oregon, we can talk about some of our customers that we're very proud of. So we would be supplying Benchmade knife, Kershaw knife, Leatherman. There's SIG Optics, Leupold, companies that we're very proud to partner with that are manufacturing really high quality parts in Oregon. Those parts generally have things, again, that seat and seal and need to move. Like when you look at a Leatherman tool, the precision of that tool requires a finish that's very durable, very thin. But also there's an aesthetic quality to it that, Leatherman products are very nice, and they're a premium, and they want the finish to also be a premium. And so you'll typically find us on those kind of consumer parts. Some of those companies will bring the application in-house, and they want to control that, which is a good decision. But some of those companies would also partner with a local certified applicator, which is the case with some of those names I just mentioned. And that's also a good decision. It's based on what their goals are. In both of those cases, the training is extremely important to us to make sure that finish is perfect.
One of the things I love about talking to folks like you and others, and I hope our listeners appreciate, is the complexity of these businesses. You know, they're so multifaceted, and there's so many places where you have to infuse your quality control, and but yet that's what businesses do every day, is, you know, figure out how to innovate, solve problems, meet customers where they are, and do it in a way that is impactful and efficient. And I just think I'm constantly amazed and impressed, and love the opportunity to learn more about it.
And I think this is lost on a segment of the population, and maybe that's not totally the case, but the competition that we face is very good for the end user. And so just to use Leatherman again as an example, a really incredible partner of ours. Leatherman is their goal is to produce the absolute best tool in the world, and they're not going to lower their standard on their finish. And so when they come to us, they're asking for not only the best, but to beat the best. And if the Cerakote product is not that, no one would fault Leatherman for finding something better. And so when we compete against other finishes and processes, we get better. Now, research and development is a huge part of our DNA. That's how our products have gotten so good, and they continue to get better. And Leatherman is never going to wake up on a Monday and say, we're good with where it's at now. And so that's where innovation, research and development, this competition that we have is so healthy for the end user, because really it eliminates waste, it eliminates inefficiencies, and the end user benefits.
Yeah, and I hope Oregonians are proud that they have so many companies that are really about that world-class, best-in-class quality products.
Right, yeah, so they should be, yes.
So I know you don't love to talk about yourself very often, but I am going to ask a question about you. Tell us a little bit about how you came to lead NIC and you know, your story in this.
You are correct. I would rather talk about our people than myself, but you've put me on the spot here. You know, I grew up in small town Southern Oregon. I was raised on a farm. I learned a lot from my dad, who was also a small business owner, and really that boiled down to, you know, perseverance, not giving up, problem solving, what I would say, seeing things to fruition, doing what you say you were going to do. Some really simple things that if you actually do those things, you can overcome almost anything. And so that was really ingrained in me as a child, that we just don't give up. We figure it out. We solve the problem. And if you're on a small farm, you have to kind of figure it out. And so that's where I started. And then just the love of manufacturing. I don't know where that came from, but I've always liked to make things. And I'm not particularly great at anything. I would say if I'm good at something, it's finding very smart people and getting them in a room and getting them to have what we would call positive discourse. We chew on ideas until we find the best idea in the room, and then we go with that. And that's where you really have to lower your pride and realize that nobody has all the answers. But if you get the smartest people in the room and you get them to disagree in a positive way, you get to some really killer ideas. And so, yeah, again, I went to Oregon State. I got into coatings, which is something that I never had interest in, but that's just where my career led me, into glass coatings, which is a little different story. Really wanted to move back to Oregon, and that's when I started at NIC. So that's the quick version of me.
Yeah, no, we'll let you off the hook at this point.
Okay.
But again, you mentioned in that I'm always I'm smiling a little bit because you always bring it back to your employees, and it's clear that they are really, it's almost like they're part of your extended family. How you think about them just so naturally as part of the equation even when you're telling your story, it's really about the people you've surrounded yourself with. And I think that's great. And
it took a while. I mean, I would say if you knew Brian in a leadership position 15 years ago, you know, things have changed a lot. I've learned a lot over the years, and I think that's you've got to have self-awareness that this didn't work, and you have to adapt and overcome. And really, the leadership culture here, we have a really great a room full of directors. I'm very proud to say that the vast majority of our directors started at the ground floor here. A lot of them actually in hourly jobs. Some of them with college degrees, some of them without. And I love that you don't know which ones. And so the leadership culture here is when you're approaching somebody doing a job, what you're going to hear somebody in a management role here ask is, what do you need from me to make your job more efficient, better? What can I do to help you? And it really flips the script, because once that employee doing that job understands that leadership here is here to find the inefficiencies and help solve problems, that culture really starts to multiply at that point, to where everybody's asking, how can I help you? What do you need from me? And again, we're not perfect, but you've walked through this place, you've seen what we do here, and that doesn't happen overnight. That happens with a culture that's taken years and years to build. And I think people are proud to work here because they believe in our mission and our vision and where we're going. And I'm, after 20 years, every morning I'm excited to come here, even though it's tough. Some of the things we do are difficult, but it's exciting to know that I'm going to walk into a building with people that I don't want to let down. I need to be doing my best every day because these folks have chosen to spend their careers here, and I think they feel the same way.
Yeah, that's again tremendous culture. I just want to ask one more question. Where I have to do this. It's kind of the obligatory thing for OBI. We do state policy. You know that. So can you just talk a little bit from your vantage point about, what are some of the best things about being able to do business where you are here in Oregon and in Southern Oregon in particular? And what are some of the challenges you face, things that my team can go to work on and we can work on trying to solve problems for you?
Right. It's an excellent question. It's an important question. I'm a very optimistic person, so I'm going to start with the positive things first. Oregon's home. That's first and foremost. I think when you have businesses that are founded in Oregon, I think there's a bit of, this is a beautiful state, it's a great state, and it's worth fighting for. And so first and foremost, this is my home, and this is a lot of our employees' homes. And so we're gonna fight for Oregon. That's first and foremost. Geographically, we have great access to the Asian markets. I-5 running through here, we have great access to the California market. Import-export is really nice. I'm going to give a plug to our airport. The Medford Airport is it's a huge thing for us. We are always about 12 minutes away from our airport. We can get anywhere in the country. I know it's getting bigger and it should get bigger, but that's very important to us. We will ship on a daily basis anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 packages a day, and those are, for the most part, all leaving out of the airport here in the Rogue Valley. So that's very important. The culture in Southern Oregon is good. When you take care of your employees, I think there's a lot of people that have lived here for a long time, and families, and they're attracted to businesses that they know, hey, if I join as a career, not a job, that this company is here to stay. And so we do enjoy that this is a smaller area, and so we have a good reputation, and because of that, we attract, I would say, the cream of the crop here in Southern Oregon from an employment standpoint. on the challenging side, you know, Oregon is not the easiest state to do business in. There's a lot of regulations that we have to deal with, and I would say doing the right thing is the right thing. So we're a coatings company. We deal with chemicals, manufacturing. So we are, you know, we are doing the right thing, but there's a pretty heavy onus on regulation in the state that we have to mitigate. I believe most business owners are trying their best to do the right thing. There's a lot of facets to running a business. You have to do everything right. It's like an orchestra. If you have one instrument out of tune, it's gonna affect the entire performance. And so we have to get everything right, from legal aspects to product quality to environmental stewardship. I could list off 20 things that we have to get right. When the state is looking at us, I think the vantage point could be more of, hey, how could we help you do a better job? And I don't know if you want to dig into any specific examples, but the state needs thriving business. And the more that businesses are, I wouldn't say assisted by the state, but partnered, what can the state do to make sure that you can do your best? I think that partnership could get better.
I'll spare you from having to go into too many specifics. That would probably require a whole nother episode, and might not know where to start. But we talk about it in terms of maybe some more carrots and less sticks. That customer service type of attitude, I think, is right. That you guys are a great example. What you do for this community economically is, it's hard to quantify because it's so broad, and people lose sight that you need the private sector to do that.
This is actually really a quite simple concept, that the best thing that I can do for our community is provide very well-paying jobs and careers. And when we can provide hundreds and hundreds of careers at a wage that is above what's normal in this area, that is very healthy for the state. When you think about the payroll tax, the property tax, all the other taxes and revenue streams, those dollars start moving around. And I think this is something that also is a bit lost. There are businesses that have to be in this state because people are in this state, and that's your power company and restaurants, and those businesses are in this state, and they're providing a service to people that live here. A lot of those businesses, not all, are not owned in this state. And so as we transact, those dollars and that profit leaves the state. What Oregon, I believe, needs to focus on is businesses that don't have to be here, but choose to be here, and also businesses that are owned here. And when you consider this, is that when NIC brings over $100 million in revenue into Southern Oregon, that stays in Southern Oregon. So we manufacture a product, we ship it all over the world, and that revenue comes into this community, and it doesn't leave to a private equity company in New York. It actually stays here. And then that 100 million, when you think about how many times that changes hands just in our local community, how the revenue stream to the state is incredible. And so we have to be, as a state, more attractive of businesses that don't have to be here, but we need businesses to choose to be here, especially businesses that are going to provide something that's exported out of the state. And that's where the revenue game gets really good for the state. And I hope that that's not lost on some of our lawmakers.
Beautifully said. And for those who might be wondering, no, I did not script or prompt that. That was completely organic, and it's just a truism that we need to talk more about here. And so thank you for bringing it up.
You have a sheet of questions that I've never seen. So what you ask next will be a surprise also.
Well, unfortunately, we're actually out of time.
Okay.
So, but I can't think of a better way to have ended our conversation. And on that note, I just want to thank you for that work that you do and for what you bring back to Oregon and what you bring back to Southern Oregon in particular. It's an extraordinary story. It's an extraordinary company and product, and we're very proud to have you in the Oregon family. So,
Yeah, and I want to also thank you because we didn't always have an outreach in the community, and OBI, and you've not asked me to say this either, but OBI has done a really great service for us, saying that, hey, if you're in business in Oregon, there's a excellent organization where we can come together and chew on ideas and find constructive ways that the state can improve how we do business. And I'll also just say one more time, even though Oregon isn't perfect from a business standpoint, if every time we're faced with an adversity, we pull up stakes and run to another state, I think that also infects your culture, that we run away from problems. And I know that's for a lot of Oregon-grown businesses, is that we're not running away from problems. We may have some problems, but let's work on fixing them. So we're here to stay, and we're here to make Oregon better. And I love this partnership. It really feel like we've been on the receiving end of a lot of the benefits from OBI. So thank you.
Well, you are very welcome. It's our pleasure to do so. Well, thank you, Brian Hall, CEO of NIC Industries, for joining us today. And congratulations again on leading a visionary company that makes such a meaningful contribution to Oregon and Oregonians' prosperity. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. The Oregon Business Matters podcast is a production of Oregon Business and Industry, your statewide chamber of commerce, and our episodes can be found on all the top podcast platforms. For more information about OBI, visit OregonBusinessIndustry.com. Thank you.